What's good, everyone? Welcome back to James Theory. See, see what I did there? All jokes aside, welcome everybody. Welcome back to the channel and another game theory by yours truly. Now you've seen the titles, you know which game we're talking about, and while this game may be right around the corner, comes out in like 5 days. I had to get this theory out before it does. I've had this theory for a little bit now. I've had this theory for a couple months since I saw the pre-order trailer for the game, but I don't know. I wanted more evidence, and I think that I have just that. So the theory for Death Stranding 2 is Sam all alone on this expedition to Australia and all that stuff? You know, now we've seen countless trailers now and gameplay with the game showing various other characters like a Fragile, Rainy, I think it is, Tomorrow. You know, so we've seen other characters, you know, so obviously Sam is not alone. What are we talking about here, James? Let me get to it. In the pre-order trailer, which I'm gonna refer to as trailer 3, and I'm gonna refer to the one beforehand as trailer 2, and then yeah, so on and so on. So in trailer 3, the pre-order trailer, we got to see quite a lot from the game, a lot of different scenes, a lot of different moments, and some of them contradicting other instances that we saw in previous trailers. For example, the very first trailer we got, the teaser trailer, showing Fragile and Lou essentially trying to escape some armed soldier. I don't even know, soldiers, some armed men, whatever it may be. Leading up to the moment where, you know, we get a close-up shot of one of the people shooting. They pull the trigger, and the next shot is of BB laying on the ground and Fragile trying to crawl her way to her. And you know, that kind of sets the whole precedent of, damn, something bad happened to BB, and you know, we're gonna have to witness Sam just kind of, you know, bounce back from it, or try to avenge Lou, or you know, something of the sort. But then the pre-order trailer reaches this moment.
I couldn't protect Lou.
Now, during this moment, we see Fragile recounting what happened the day that, I guess, something happened to Lou. And what she details is very different from what we see happening during the first teaser trailer, as well as even some of the scenes in the pre-order trailer. What she's recounting is that essentially when it came time to try to like teleport Lou out of there, she was only able to send Lou. And we get the close-up shot of the gunfire, and that's kind of it, you know? So, you know, you're probably thinking, how does this lead up to what I was talking about? Well, so we have various new characters on the DHV Magellan, which is the ship that they're in for Death Stranding 2. Characters like Doll Man, the Tar Man, who's like the ship's doctor, who also drives the ship. So we have all these various new characters and whatnot. You know, there's one thing about each and every one of them that immediately catches my attention. They seem to be all affected in some way by the Death Stranding and the world that event has turned it into. Whether that be through Doom's abilities and whatnot, like they are all in some way affected. And I think that means a lot more than what the trailers are showing us. Now, we know that some of them have abilities, like Tomorrow is able to kind of swim through the tar and use it to, you know, attack her enemies and whatnot. I believe Rainy is able to make it rain with her abilities. So, you know, all these different abilities. Tarman's able to drive the DHV Magellan by just putting his hand in. It sounds weird. Putting his hand in the ship's hole and using his arm like a key. So, you know, this goes a bit further than just like simple Dooms, like being able to sense BTs like we saw in Death Stranding. You know, granted, Fragile was able to like teleport and things like that. You know, so it's not too far-fetched for, you know, various abilities to be had by different characters, but it's the way that some of these abilities are presented. And, you know, each of them all seem like they're from different walks of life, like almost as if Fragile had found them all in different places and just recruited them over time, whereas with Death Stranding 1, everyone was part of Bridges and or affiliated to it, and they had uniform to show for it. Like, everyone is wearing drawbridge here, but everyone still seems a lot more disorganized, almost as if these were all just regular people that Fragile grew to know and just recruited. The question is how. We do have this one scene of Fragile essentially finding what I believe to be Dollman's original body and the doll itself, and it seems to be talking to her. So we'll probably get to find out how she met everybody. And as we've seen in trailer 2, we got to see when Fragile and Tarman have found Tomorrow in a big crystallis kind of case, and I further identified that she is from the world of the dead, or resides there. Her origin and how she got there is very confusing, but based on the gameplay we saw of her recently, she's definitely not a normal person. She's not from the world of the living, which leads me to my big theory about our new crew. Are any of these people like fully intact? And what I mean by that is, well, in Death Stranding 1, we, spoiler alert, we learn about Amelie, or essentially how she's split in two, where her Ka and her Ha, her body and soul, are in two different places. They're aware of one another, but that's about it. But the fact that remains that there were two separate things. And Death Stranding 2, we see the whole servers lining the beach and chiralium used in various different ways, even through the first game, which, chiralium being something that started appearing after the Death Stranding, kind of hints at the fact that, we're using, in a way, I guess you could say, the power of death to kind of push humanity forward, out and hopefully out of the brink of extinction, but I can't help but feel like that has a double-sided effect. Life and death have merged in more ways than one throughout both Death Stranding 1 and 2 by the looks of it. And so the idea that we're essentially riding with a ghost crew of characters who probably no longer have their bodies and are just souls makes a lot of sense. Now, back to the scene with Fragile, she explained that, she was able to only teleport Lou, just Lou. And she's kind of alluding to the fact that she may have been shot and killed instead. So she may have sacrificed her life to save Lou, which begs the question, where is Lou? And I'm sure that's something we'll find out by the end of the game. But just the fact that Fragile might actually be gone. Further evidence to support this is this scene through the pre-order trailer where Sam sounds sad and he's talking about how he's been alone this whole time.
I've been alone this whole time.
Now, this scene really intrigues me because of what Sam says here. He says, I've been alone this whole time. And obviously, he sees, he feels, and he hears, everyone that's there with him. But the fact of the matter is, if they are just Kas with no Has, or, a soul with no body, he can't necessarily relate to that. He goes on these expeditions, connecting the UCA like he did in Death Stranding 1, and now connecting, I believe it's Australia and other various regions in Death Stranding 2. And the reality is, he is the only one that can. Because whereas everyone could get killed by, a terrorist or a BT, he'll always come back. So, him saying, I've been alone this whole time, reads as though his affiliation and understanding of death is a little bit different than everyone else's. Whereas he has to kind of live and, endure the struggles that he endures through life, in a way forcefully, because he can't really die, by any other means. It seems old age, because he is aging. It seems that, would probably be the thing to get him eventually. But other than that, very much like what happened at the start of Death Stranding 1, where he was with that crew trying to take that deceased body to the incinerator. Everyone died practically but him. Sam's life is essentially one riddled with loneliness, because if something traumatic or disastrous were to happen, everyone that he cares about would be lost. and he would have to be there to kind of pick up the remains. And he, and based on what things we know from the first game and, now the second one, we know that Sam has gone through a lot. So his affiliation with those that he has around him in a lot of ways probably depends a lot on them being alive, but it seems the realization that, everyone that was there with him is probably not, fully alive is something that he struggles with, which is when Fragile follows up with this.
You're wrong. Death can tear us apart. We will always be with you, no matter what.
Now, I at this point, I might as well say, well, it's confirmed. She's pretty much saying, yeah, I'm dead, Sam. Which obviously with them, obviously showing more love for one another is going to be a very painful thing for Sam to accept. All those moments that we spend in Death Stranding with all of our characters, Fragile, Tomorrow, Rain, Dollman, Tarman, etc. It seems that those moments are going to matter so much more once we get to that ending and realize the truth. And again, with the world seemingly, with life essentially being merged with death, it makes sense that they're just out there traversing the tar currents to get to different places and things like that. They're already dead, and I'm sure Fragile, having been killed, the way she wasn't gonna back down so easy. We get that scene of her crawling towards Lou, and she has like the black tar under her eyes, very reminiscent of like when Cliff reemerged in Death Stranding 1. So almost like he has unfinished business. And I'd like to say that Fragile's unfinished business is probably leading Sam back to Lou, or perhaps helping him get over it, which is something she does allude to throughout, I believe, trailer 2, where she, said she apologized to him, saying she didn't want him to get, she didn't mean to string him along, and that this expedition was so that he could get the strength to carry on. So, it really is this interesting but very sad situation going on in Death Stranding 2. But yeah, that's the theory. I think Sam is traveling with a literal skeleton crew and is completely unaware of it until probably later on in the game, And, I think it's going to hurt him quite a lot. That scene of Sam breaking down in the shower crying and stuff like that is a huge indicator to me too, because we have another cutscene. We have another scene from trailer 2 where, Fragile showing off the DHV Magellan and showing, where everyone's rooms are, the bathroom and the shower, which is conveniently down the hall. So, either Sam is having a little minor breakdown and everyone is able to see him, or he's just realized that he's the only body, the only person with both their Ka and Ha fully intact. And, it's something that he struggles with accepting. Perhaps something happens in Death Stranding 2 where, the world of the dead isn't as connected. And, maybe he won't be able to see these people for some time, or maybe never again, which would make, the expedition through Australia and Mexico and everything that we endure into that much more impactful, because kind of like life, we're essentially living through these moments where he's getting to know these new people and bonding with them and connecting with them, only for the tragic hands of life to take that away from him. So in the end, all he will have is his memories and his connections to these people, So and I think that this is something that the game wants to explore a bit further. And I'm excited to see if I'm right, and even if not, just how it all ends up playing out in the end. Overall, I'm excited for Death Stranding. So even if I'm wrong about this, who cares? But this is what I think is going on, and I think what the big twist is going to be at some point in the game. Or one of the twists. I feel like this game is going to give us a lot more to work with as it goes on. But yeah, that's the theory. All right, so to quickly recap, I believe that Fragile and everyone that's aboard the DHV Magellan is either dead or in some way linked to death, or is just another Ka without a Ha, soul without a body, therefore leaving Sam to be the only one who's in a sense perfectly intact due to his repatriate status. And, you know, the world of Death Stranding being merged with life and death and all this Cairo energy being put out, especially during the events of Death Stranding 1 when we were connecting everything, allows for them and more people to essentially coexist, regardless of whether they're alive or dead, just like the BTs. Only issue is our buddy Sam is likely not aware of this just yet, and it's gonna be hard for him. It's gonna be hard for him to endure, but we'll likely make it through in the end. And it's very much goes in line with what Higgs said to Sam in the second trailer as well, which was Sam the man in the dark about everything. So obviously Higgs is very much aware due to his abilities of what's potentially going on, but Sam still doesn't know. And if everything I said here isn't convincing enough for you, the recent new artwork or poster for Death Stranding 2 shows Sam conveniently holding Fragile in his arms. You know, that, and it was that image there that allowed me to finally say, you know what, I'm making this video. So yeah, I think that Sam is the only one truly, I guess you could say, alive or of the living on that on the DHV Magellan. And you know, it's gonna be an emotional ride for everybody. Fans of Fragile and all the other characters are definitely gonna be for a bit of a rough time, but you know what, at least we'll be there to endure it with Sam. So all right, y'all, this has been my theory for Death Stranding 2. Death Stranding 2 is 5 days away, unless you got the digital deluxe or collector's edition. And yeah, if not, you playing it 2 days early, which is my plan. Hopefully that all pans out. But either way, I'm excited to play the game and see what ends up unfolding. If you all enjoyed this, definitely hit that like button. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Or do you agree with me but you hate what I had to say here? Because believe me, I hate it too. But maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe there's some more multiversal stuff going on here, because, you know, there has been hints of some sort of multiverse stuff, you know, since the first game. So maybe more of that is going to be tampered with, and we're going to see two versions of the same situation, which is why we see, you know, either what looks like BB potentially being shot or Fragile. But I'm leaning more towards my original theory, where she tells Sam one story, either to protect herself, to protect him, you know, or both, you know, and that's essentially starts the events that are going to be leading to the game, you know, and that in turn leads to her recruiting Sam again to kind of try to make up for what happened, or perhaps lead him on the right path to potentially finding Lou, or at least some peace, because Sam, he's been through some things. But yeah, y'all, that's my theory for Death Stranding 2. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it, or if you didn't enjoy it and you hate my theory because I might be right, you can hit the dislike. I understand. And yeah, y'all, I've been your boy, Sir James, saying hit that bell to be notified whenever we go live or upload another one of these videos or shorts, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay safe, play games above all else. Remember, somebody loves you, and keep on keeping on.